Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Stephen O'Grady. I'm the co-founder of Redmonk, and today I am here with Anurag. Anurag, would you care to introduce yourself?
Hey, my name's Anurag Gupta. I'm the founder of Shoreline.io, and it's really great to be here, Stephen.
Perfect. So the topic for us today is one that's certainly near and dear to your heart, and I think, frankly, will be near and dear to a lot of engineers' hearts. Anybody who's ever been on call, I think, will appreciate this. Which is essentially the idea of automated remediation. Which is sort of a challenge slash opportunity for the industry. More particularly in sort of day two operations. So we have, we at Redmonk have seen quite a bit of demand for this type of thing because essentially, the math here is pretty simple. The more, machines you run, the more incidents you have. And the scale here is, well, the math on it is not terribly difficult to sort of parse. So, with that backdrop in mind, what were the events or what were the experiences that led you to form Shoreline?
So before Shoreline, I spent about 8 years at AWS running their database and analytics services. And it grew about a thousandfold in my time there. And from a few million to a few billion in revenues. And what's interesting about that is that your staff doesn't grow anywhere close to the rate that your fleet does. But as you were just saying, your tickets do. And so the only way to solve that conundrum is to automate your repairs, and that improves your availability. It it keeps your engineers sleeping at night, which is what you all want. And so that's what led me to create Shoreline, providing that capability to everybody else.
Yeah. So, essentially the idea then, instead of getting paged in the middle of the night to run something, why don't we just automate that entire chain of events, which, as I said, anybody who's been on sort of call, will hopefully appreciate that. In your experience, who within an organization is typically responsible, for who are you talking to, in terms of titles and roles and all that?
It's usually a director of operations, cloud operations, SRE. Sometimes people combine engineering with the operations function. I personally favor that because that's what we did at AWS. You build it, you own it into production. Yep. And so sometimes it'll be a director of engineering.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk to these folks, when you talk to these customers, where are they experiencing the most pain? What is the sort of, obviously, incidents are, there's an infinite number of them, but, in terms of patterns, in terms of what is that pain, where can you help them the most? And how does automated remediation rather, fit in?
So what I think, the need is clear. Everybody's already got a observability tool. They already have an incident management tool. What they don't have is something that keeps them from waking up because, the challenge with that is, just as you were saying, Stephen, operations is death by a thousand cuts. And so what you need is solutions that make automating a fix as easy as fixing it one by one. And so it can't take longer than that because operators are super busy.
Yes, they most certainly are. So the logical question is, why doesn't this exist already? I was a systems integrator many years ago. I was on call for clients, and and we did everything we could to prevent getting paged in the middle of the night. We came up with incident databases. We established procedures and all that. Obviously, sort of at the size and scale of things operate today, this is a much more acute problem, certainly than it ever was for, sort of in my day. So why does this exist? What is the, what have been the hangups and sort of how did you go about solving that?
So, you're exactly right. Even there was a human in the loop then, and there's a human in the loop now. The problem is that now it's a 24/7 business. And, we've automated, testing through pipelines, we've automated config, we've automated deployments. What we haven't automated yet is development and production ops. And the crazy, I mean, you can decide when to go and develop a piece of code. You can't decide when your machine falls down underneath you, right? And so that's the problem. So why doesn't it exist today? It's actually a hard problem because, what we've done at Shoreline is we've had to build per second metrics so that people have accurate information. We've done fleet-wide real-time debugging and repair with a concise language that makes it easy to integrate real-time views into resources, metrics, and Linux commands, which are kind of the nouns, adjectives, and verbs of operations, right? You need a single system that integrates all three. And then once you go and debug something and repair something the first time using our tool, you also want the ability to be able to do an automation or using that same debug session in a few minutes. Right. And if it's a month-long Dove product, no one has the time because there are so many issues to go after.
Right. Fair. So, are there, when you talk to people about this, are there then common objections that they have, right? Are there, sort of patterns in terms of, I'm sure this won't work for us because of X, Y, or Z? Is that something that you see?
I don't see that with any frequency. I think people are in a lot of pain. The objections, we are an earlier company, so sometimes people say, oh, you don't have on-prem support yet. So, it'll come someday, but, sometime they'll say, hey, could you talk to me in 2 or 3 months because I'm in the middle of a burning building right now with all these other projects going on. And so, once the, smoke settles, then I'd love to talk with you. So it's usually something like that.
Okay. All right. That makes perfect sense to me. And sort of last question for me is, obviously this is going to be a journey, right? You're going to have, as with any other technical category that we're talking about, you're going to have people all over the map in terms of, their readiness, the pain that they're experiencing and so on. Where do you feel that sort of most enterprises, or at least the enterprises that you're speaking with, fall, sort of on that spectrum? Are they ready? Are they, sort of, I don't know, just where would you sort of put the, sort of the moment? Where would you put, sort of the average customer at this point in time?
So I feel like if people are already in the cloud, they're starting to feel pain. Sometimes they think, oh, I'll use Kubernetes and that'll solve all my problems. Or I'll move to serverless and that'll solve all my problems. Now, unfortunately, there just is no silver bullet in operation. And you're still going to be, capturing something somewhere. And so, I do think that this is a technology platform that people will need. It's just a question of realizing that over time. I'm seeing a lot of attention from people who are running data platforms, maybe in part because of my own background, but also because, the thing about data is that if your data isn't available, everything back from that is down.
Yep.
You can't reboot your way out of those problems.
No, you cannot. So with that, I will sort of wrap us up. This has been great. I appreciate having you on, and I'm sure I can speak for every engineer that's been paged in the middle of the night. I certainly hope that this becomes a thing in a category, and that you get yourself in front of more customers because, it's nice to sleep through the night. So, thanks so much, Anurag. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, Stephen.